What if humanity's story didn't begin with simple stone tools or crude shelters? Imagine, instead, a time when the Earth was home to civilizations so advanced that their knowledge and technology rival, or even surpass, what we know today. That's the narrative buried beneath the sands of time, deliberately hidden or dismissed, and it's time to uncover it. Let's talk about Atlantis. You've probably heard the name, but mainstream accounts dismiss it as myth. Yet ancient texts from cultures all over the world describe a society so advanced that it could harness energy from the Earth itself, manipulate it to power their cities, and even explore the stars. This wasn't some primitive tribe with bonfires. We're talking about precision engineering, vast knowledge of astronomy, and technologies that hint at quantum-level understanding. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza as an example. For years, it's been hailed as a tomb for pharaohs. But evidence suggests it was never a burial site. What it truly was, get this, might have been an energy generator, tapping into the Earth's natural frequencies. Its structure, its alignment with celestial bodies, and the materials used. Not random. Its technology on a scale we can barely comprehend, let alone replicate today. And yet, it's a relic of a time long before modern civilization began. Now, here's where it gets wild. The Sumerian civilization, the earliest recorded human society, spoke of beings they called the Anunnaki, who they claimed came from the stars. These beings didn't just visit, they shared knowledge, altered humanity's genetic makeup, and helped build the structures and technologies that laid the foundation for what we know as civilization. Sound outlandish? Ancient Sumerian tablets document these interactions in painstaking detail, and the correlations with other ancient texts, like the Vedic scriptures of India, are too precise to ignore. And this isn't just about technology. Look at the architectural remnants scattered across the globe. In South America, you'll find stone structures with cuts so precise that even today's laser technology struggles to replicate them. In Turkey, Göbekli Tepe, a site dated to 11,600 years ago, features massive stone pillars with carvings that defy our understanding of what early humans were capable of. Who taught them? Where did they get the tools, the techniques, and the knowledge? The answer lies in a lost epoch of history, a period when civilizations like Atlantis thrived, their achievements buried by cataclysms that reset the planet. These weren't just natural disasters. Ancient accounts speak of wars fought with weapons so destructive they sound eerily like nuclear bombs. Could this have been a global conflict that wiped out advanced societies, leaving humanity to rebuild from scratch? And why doesn't the mainstream narrative acknowledge this? Because admitting that history as we know it is incomplete, or even wrong, would shatter centuries of academic dogma. It would force us to rewrite everything from textbooks to religious doctrines. The clues are everywhere, hidden in plain sight. But here's the thing, you're not going to hear this from your school teacher or see it in a history documentary. This isn't just about uncovering artifacts or decoding ancient texts. The Bible is one of the most influential texts in human history, but here's something most people don't know: many of its stories have parallels in older civilizations, dating back thousands of years before the first word of the Bible was ever written. These aren't vague similarities either, they are strikingly detailed, suggesting that the origins of some biblical narratives lie in ancient texts that predate the Bible by millennia. Take the story of the Great Flood, for example. The tale of Noah and his ark is iconic, but it wasn't the first time humanity documented such a cataclysmic event. The Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, a text over 4,000 years old, describes a nearly identical flood story. In it, a man named Utnapishtim is warned by gods to build a massive boat and save all living creatures. Sound familiar? The names and specifics differ, but the core narrative is the same. What does this mean? It's not about discrediting one story, it's about recognizing that the biblical account might have drawn from earlier traditions. And it doesn't stop there. The concept of divine commandments, central to the Ten Commandments, bears remarkable resemblance to the Code of Hammurabi, a Babylonian legal text written around 1750 BCE. Engraved on a massive stone stele, the code lays out moral and societal laws, many of which parallel the commandments later attributed to Moses. The idea of receiving divine laws wasn't unique to the Israelites, it was a shared cultural motif across ancient civilizations. Let's dive deeper. The creation story in Genesis? It's eerily similar to the Sumerian Enuma Elish. This ancient text describes the creation of the world through divine forces, the separation of the heavens and the earth, and even the formation of humanity from divine intervention. The parallels are undeniable, down to specific phrases about the ordering of chaos into structure. What's striking is how these narratives evolved over time, adapted by different cultures, each adding their own lens and context. Even the story of the Tower of Babel, which explains humanity's linguistic diversity, has older counterparts. Ancient Mesopotamian ziggurats, tower-like structures, were seen as connecting points between heaven and earth. These monumental constructions weren't just physical, they were symbolic, representing humanity's attempt to bridge the gap between the mortal and the divine. The Babel story, in this light, could be seen as a reinterpretation of these ancient cultural and religious ideas. Then there's the figure of Jesus. Across various ancient texts, there are echoes of a messianic figure, a divine savior who teaches humanity profound truths. In Egyptian mythology, Horus, the son of Isis, is portrayed as a divine child who undergoes trials, resurrects, and offers salvation. In the Vedic texts of India, Krishna shares similar attributes, including miraculous powers and teachings that guide humanity towards spiritual enlightenment. These aren't identical stories, but they highlight recurring archetypes that transcend any one religion or culture. The Bible wasn't created in a vacuum. It emerged in a world rich with stories, symbols, and wisdom that had been passed down and reshaped over countless generations. Behind the walls of the Vatican lies one of the most enigmatic collections in the world, the Vatican's secret archives. Stretching over 50 miles of shelving, this vault is home to some of the most restricted and protected documents ever known to humanity. These aren't just religious texts, they include ancient manuscripts, letters, and artifacts that could rewrite our understanding of history and human origins. Access to these archives is severely restricted. Only a select few scholars, after rigorous vetting, are permitted to enter, and even then, they can only view a limited number of documents per visit. What's stored here isn't just about safeguarding religious history, it's about controlling information. There's an undeniable question: why does so much of this knowledge need to remain hidden from the world? One of the most intriguing claims is that the archives contain texts from ancient civilizations, records that predate the Bible and even the known empires of Mesopotamia and Egypt. These manuscripts, allegedly recovered from excavations in regions like the Middle East, are said to offer detailed accounts of humanity's early interactions with advanced beings. Whether these beings were extraterrestrial or simply representatives of highly advanced civilizations is a mystery, but the accounts suggest they shared profound knowledge about technology, medicine, and astronomy. Another layer of secrecy surrounds the Vatican's involvement in preserving and suppressing ancient artifacts. Whispers persist of artifacts being removed from archaeological sites and transported directly to the Vatican. Among them are rumored to be fragments of megalithic structures, strange metallic objects inscribed with languages unknown to modern linguistics, and even skeletal remains of beings that don't align with what we currently understand as human evolution. One story that refuses to fade concerns correspondence between the Vatican and astronomers in the early 20th century regarding non-terrestrial entities. Declassified letters hint at the Church's awareness of celestial phenomena and potential contact with intelligent life beyond Earth. This ties into the Vatican's surprisingly advanced involvement in astronomy. Yes, the Vatican owns one of the world's oldest observatories and is deeply invested in the search for extraterrestrial life. Why would a religious institution focused on Earth's spiritual matters invest so heavily in understanding what's out there? And what about the enigmatic Codex Vaticanus? It's one of the oldest known manuscripts of the Bible, yet parts of it don't align with the Bible we know today. Scholars who've studied its text point to subtle but significant differences, variations that could challenge core theological beliefs. Yet the codex is only accessible to a small group of researchers under strict supervision. What else is in these archives that could shed light on how religious texts have evolved or been edited over time? The archives are also rumored to house ancient texts on lost technologies. These are not the speculative fictions of science fiction, but detailed blueprints and writings on devices and practices that defy our current understanding. Could these be the same technologies hinted at in ancient sites across the world? Could the Vatican hold the key to understanding the advanced capabilities of past civilizations, capabilities that have been buried, destroyed, or deemed too dangerous for public knowledge? Then there's the darker side of the archives, records that detail events the Church would rather the world forget. From the suppression of scientific discoveries during the Inquisition to the manipulation of political power across centuries, the archives hold the receipts. What's more, there are whispers of documents related to apocalyptic prophecies and secret councils held to address threats to the Church's authority, not just in a spiritual sense, but on a global scale. When we think of ancient civilizations, the image that comes to mind is often rudimentary tools and primitive lifestyles. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Hidden within the remnants of ancient cultures are artifacts and structures that defy explanation, evidence of technologies that were not only advanced for their time, but might even outpace some of what we have today. These technologies weren't products of chance, they were deliberate, precise, and purposeful, challenging everything we thought we knew about human progress. Take Pumapunku in Bolivia. This site is a megalithic masterpiece featuring massive stone blocks cut with such precision that modern engineers are left scratching their heads. The interlocking stones fit together without mortar, and the cuts are so exact that even a razor blade can't fit between them. These blocks weren't carved by trial and error with crude tools. The level of detail suggests the use of advanced machining or technology that we can't replicate, let alone fully understand. Now, consider the Antikythera Mechanism, discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. Dubbed the world's first computer, this device dates back over 2,000 years and was capable of tracking celestial events with incredible accuracy. This wasn't some rudimentary tool, it was a highly sophisticated mechanism that required precise engineering and knowledge of astronomy. And here's the kicker, nothing even close to its complexity appeared again in history for over 1,000 years. How did the ancients create something so advanced, and why did such knowledge seemingly vanish? And then there's the Baghdad battery. Found in Iraq and dated to around 250 BCE, this artifact looks like a simple clay jar. But when analyzed, researchers found that it could generate electricity when filled with a liquid electrolyte. Electricity. Over 2,000 years ago. What were they using it for? Electroplating, medicine, or something even more profound? The answers remain a mystery, but the implications are staggering. The Great Zimbabwe ruins in Africa are another enigma. This vast stone complex was built without the use of mortar, yet the walls have stood for centuries. The precision and architectural ingenuity suggest advanced knowledge of engineering principles, long before it was supposed to exist in that part of the world. Who built it, and how did they achieve such sophistication? These questions remain unanswered, as mainstream narratives continue to downplay its significance. And let's not forget the ancient use of sound technology. Sites like the Hypogeum of Alsaflieni in Malta exhibit acoustic properties that amplify certain frequencies. These chambers weren't just constructed, they were engineered to interact with sound waves in ways that affect the human body and mind. Modern science is just beginning to grasp the potential of sound as a tool for healing and manipulation, but ancient cultures seem to have already mastered it. Then there are the flying machines described in ancient Indian texts like the Vedas and the Mahabharata. These texts, written thousands of years ago, detail vehicles called vimanas that could fly through the air, dive underwater, and even travel between planets. Dismissed as mythology by some, the detailed descriptions of propulsion systems and flight paths make it hard to ignore the possibility that they were referencing real technology, not just imagination. Finally, consider the ley lines, powerful energy grids that seem to connect ancient sites across the globe. The placement of these structures, from the pyramids of Egypt to Stonehenge, is not random. It suggests a deliberate understanding of Earth's magnetic fields and how to harness them. The knowledge required to map and utilize these lines goes beyond what is attributed to ancient civilizations. When it comes to the origins of humanity, the standard narrative involves gradual evolution and early societies developing agriculture, language, and tools. But ancient Sumerian texts tell a story that's far more complex and infinitely more intriguing. According to these accounts, our ancestors didn't just stumble upon civilization. Instead, they were guided, shaped, and perhaps even created by beings known as the Anunnaki. The term Anunnaki translates to those who came from the heavens or princes of the royal bloodline. These weren't mythological deities or spiritual metaphors, they were described as physical beings who descended to Earth. The Sumerians wrote extensively about their interactions with the Anunnaki, documenting their advanced knowledge of agriculture, astronomy, and architecture. What's particularly striking is how specific and consistent these records are, suggesting they weren't just fabrications of an overactive imagination. According to these texts, the Anunnaki came from a planet called Nibiru, part of our solar system, but with an orbit so elongated it only passes near Earth every thousands of years. The theory goes that Nibiru's inhabitants sought Earth for its resources, particularly gold. But why gold? Modern science reveals gold's unique conductive properties, especially in advanced technologies and atmospheric manipulation. The Anunnaki's need for gold wasn't decorative, it was functional. Here's where it gets fascinating. The Sumerians claimed the Anunnaki engineered humanity to assist in this effort. They didn't create humans from scratch, though. The texts describe a process of genetic modification, combining their DNA with that of primitive hominids to produce a hybrid species capable of intelligence, communication, and labor. This wasn't a divine creation story, it was genetic engineering. And this isn't just limited to Sumerian mythology. Across the globe, ancient cultures echo similar accounts of beings descending from the heavens to guide or intervene in human affairs. In South America, the Inca spoke of the Viracocha, tall, pale gods who taught them engineering and farming techniques. The Hopi of North America tell stories of the Kachina, spiritual beings who imparted wisdom. Even the Bible's Nephilim, giants of old who were said to be the offspring of sons of God and human women, bear striking similarities to these ancient accounts. The Anunnaki weren't portrayed as benevolent saviors, though. The Sumerian texts detail power struggles among their ranks, rivalries, and even wars, events that mirror the conflicts of Greek and Roman gods but feel much more grounded in reality. These weren't infallible beings, they had agendas, emotions, and conflicts, just like humans. The question is, why does mainstream history overlook or dismiss these accounts? Is it because they challenge the narrative that human progress is purely the result of our ingenuity? Or is it because acknowledging these beings would force us to confront questions about our origins that science isn't ready to answer? One of the most compelling pieces of evidence lies in our very DNA. Geneticists have long puzzled over the sudden leap in human intelligence around 200,000 years ago, a phenomenon known as the missing link. What caused this jump? Some theories propose environmental factors or random mutations, but what if it wasn't random at all? What if it was deliberate? The Sumerian accounts suggest just that, a purposeful intervention by an advanced civilization to create a species capable of serving their needs. There are also the massive ancient structures attributed to early humans. From the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the pyramids of Egypt, these structures seem almost too advanced for the time periods in which they were built. The Sumerians claimed these were designed under the guidance of the Anunnaki, who possessed the knowledge and technology to manipulate massive stones and align these structures with celestial bodies. Coincidence? Hardly. The Ark of the Covenant is one of the most mysterious and powerful artifacts ever described in human history. Often viewed through a purely religious lens, the Ark is traditionally thought to be a sacred chest containing the Ten Commandments. But what if the Ark was far more than a symbolic relic? What if it was, in fact, a piece of advanced technology, misunderstood and mythologized by those who witnessed its power? Accounts of the Ark, as described in the Bible, paint a picture that's hard to dismiss as mere spirituality. It's said to have emitted bolts of energy that could destroy armies and kill anyone who touched it unprepared. This wasn't just an ornate box, it was a device capable of immense power. The Ark's construction details are also fascinating: gold-plated wood, specific dimensions, and cherubim made of gold positioned on its lid. Gold, as we now know, is an excellent conductor of electricity. Its use in battle is particularly striking. In the book of Joshua, the Israelites carried the Ark around the walls of Jericho, and after 7 days, the walls collapsed. This wasn't a coincidence or merely divine intervention, it reads more like a description of an energy weapon being deployed. The Ark's ability to destroy, emit energy, and even induce fear suggests it wasn't just a religious object. It was technology that operated on principles far beyond what was understood in its time. But where did this technology come from? The Bible states that the Ark's design was given directly by God to Moses. However, many researchers believe that such detailed instructions, down to the materials used, suggest knowledge that was far too advanced for its era. Some theorize that the design could have been influenced by beings with knowledge of advanced physics and engineering, shared with humanity during a pivotal moment in history. The Ark's journey doesn't end there. After being carried into battles and used in rituals, it mysteriously vanished from history. Some accounts suggest it was hidden to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Ethiopia claims to house the Ark in a small chapel in Axum, guarded by monks who are sworn never to let it be seen. Other theories suggest it was buried beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem or even transported to secret locations far beyond the Middle East. One of the most compelling theories about the Ark is its connection to ancient energy systems. If the Ark was a device capable of harnessing electromagnetic energy, it may have been part of a broader network of ancient technologies that civilizations used to manipulate energy on a scale we can't yet understand. The instructions to keep the Ark isolated, its dangerous effects on untrained handlers, and its ability to emit destructive power all align with descriptions of advanced energy storage or weaponry. Modern parallels only deepen the mystery. Tesla's theories about wireless energy transmission and the potential of harnessing the Earth's natural frequencies resonate with what the Ark might have been. Was the Ark a remnant of a lost technological era, an artifact from a time when humanity, or another force, understood the natural laws of the universe in ways we can only now begin to rediscover? What's even more fascinating is how many other cultures describe similar artifacts. The Hindu texts mention the Brahmastra, a divine weapon capable of immense destruction. The legends of Atlantis speak of crystals that could store and channel energy. The Ark of the Covenant might not have been unique, it could have been one of many such devices scattered across the ancient world, each tied to a civilization that knew secrets we've long forgotten. For thousands of years, organized religion has been a central pillar of human civilization, shaping laws, morality, and the very fabric of societies. But what if religion, as we know it today, was deliberately designed, not just as a spiritual guide, but as a tool for control? This isn't an indictment of faith itself, but an exploration of how religious institutions have historically wielded power, shaped narratives, and curated knowledge to serve specific agendas. Throughout history, religious institutions have accumulated immense wealth and influence. The Catholic Church, for example, is one of the richest organizations in the world. Its reach extends beyond spiritual matters into politics, education, and even science. During the Middle Ages, it wasn't uncommon for the Church to suppress or outright destroy knowledge that threatened its authority. Scientists like Galileo were persecuted for presenting ideas that contradicted religious dogma. Entire libraries, such as the Great Library of Alexandria, were lost to time, possibly because their contents challenged the prevailing narratives. Even the structure of religious texts raises questions. Why were certain books included in the Bible while others were excluded? The Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, for instance, marked a turning point in the codification of Christian doctrine. This wasn't a purely spiritual endeavor, it was a political one. Texts that didn't align with the Church's objectives were labeled heretical and destroyed, silencing alternative viewpoints and solidifying a single narrative. What's even more compelling is the consistency of this pattern across cultures. Ancient Egyptian priesthoods controlled access to sacred knowledge, claiming it came directly from the gods. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats served not just as temples but as centers of power where elites mediated between humanity and the divine. In Mesoamerica, the Mayan priests held astronomical and agricultural knowledge that allowed them to predict celestial events, knowledge that reinforced their authority over the people. These dynamics weren't coincidental. They reveal a clear strategy, the centralization of knowledge and its use as a mechanism of control. By positioning themselves as gatekeepers of divine wisdom, religious institutions not only maintained their influence but also shaped societal norms and values. And this continues into modern times. The narratives of salvation, sin, and divine judgment often emphasize obedience and submission, ensuring that the status quo remains unchallenged. Even the concept of heresy is a tool of control. By labeling dissenting voices as dangerous or blasphemous, institutions have been able to marginalize alternative perspectives and reinforce their own. But what if some of those suppressed ideas held the keys to understanding humanity's true origins, purpose, or potential? And yet, despite this history of suppression, fragments of the truth have endured. They're hidden in ancient texts, whispered in myths, and encoded in the very symbols we see in religious art and architecture. These fragments point to a deeper understanding of the universe, one that transcends dogma and speaks to humanity's connection to something far greater. So, what does this mean for us today? It means the power of questioning is more vital than ever. Knowledge has been curated, edited, and withheld for millennia, but we live in a time when those walls are beginning to crumble. The more we dig into the past, the more we uncover truths that challenge the narratives we've been taught. Truths that are far more complex, far more interconnected, and far more fascinating than we've ever been allowed to imagine. As we bring this exploration to a close, I want to thank you for taking this journey with me. Unveiling these mysteries isn't about abandoning faith or tradition, it's about expanding our understanding, asking the hard questions, and seeking a deeper connection to the truth. You've been part of something bold today, and I hope this video has sparked new thoughts, new ideas, and a hunger to learn more. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you for your time and curiosity. Your engagement is what makes these discussions possible. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and never stop seeking the truth. Thank you for watching.